Hey, good morning. It's Patricia Murphy. It's Thursday. This is Seattle Now. This weekend marks 20 years since the 9/11 attacks, an event that changed American life and millions of lives around the globe. We'll hear how 9/11 forever changed one Seattleite in just a minute. But first, let's get you caught up. State health officials are warning that COVID cases are stretching hospital capacity statewide. The Department of Health said yesterday that it's monitoring the surge and working with healthcare facilities to access additional resources. The State Hospital Association told the Seattle Times that admissions were up 7% over Labor Day weekend. That means procedures like cancer treatments are being put off for now at many hospitals across the state. Betting on pro sports comes to Washington today for the first time, and just in time for tonight's start of the NFL season. More than a year after the state legislature gave the green light, Snoqualmie Casino will start taking bets this morning at 11. It's the first of 16 sports books in the works at tribal casinos around the state. Seahawks open the season Sunday as 2.5-point favorites on the road against the Colts. Be responsible, people. And Climate Pledge Arena, the home ice of the city's new hockey team, has announced its first concert act. It's Coldplay. I think that's on purpose because of the ice, right? Coldplay. Anyway, Coldplay will warm up the Kraken Shack on October 22nd, a day before the team's home opener. Tickets go on sale next week, and if you pay for Prime, you can get it live streamed. This weekend marks 20 years since the 9/11 attacks. Along with the recent end to the war in Afghanistan that they launched, it's a chance to remember people we've lost and the ways 9/11 forever changed so many of us. In 2001, Rais Bhuiyan was a new immigrant to America. He'd left his home in Bangladesh for New York City, where he'd hoped to become a computer scientist. A friend invited him to move to Texas, and that's where he was on September 11th, 2001. 10 days after the attacks, Rais was working at a gas station in southeast Texas when a man wearing a bandana and sunglasses walked in and pointed a shotgun at his face. Rais thought he was being robbed, but when he put the money on the counter, it just sat there.
And his gaze remained fixed. And then he asked me, "Where are you from?" And before I could say anything more than, "Excuse me," he pulled the trigger from point blank range.
He says it felt like a million bees were stinging his face. He fell to the floor, hoping to look dead. The man left, and Rais was able to get help. He survived the attack against him by an avowed white supremacist out for revenge. But Rais lost everything else: his home, his job, his fiancée, and his sense of safety. He was $60,000 in debt from medical bills with no insurance. But Rais went on to recover. He founded the nonprofit World Without Hate to tell his story and try to put an end to the cycle of violence. Rais, thank you for talking with us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Rais, you just basically told us how you lost everything as a result of this attack. Yet I know from reading your story, you found the strength to forgive the man who shot you and killed 2 other people in that attack. How did you get to this place?
Well, I learned about the beauty, power, and benefit of forgiveness at a very young age from my parents and from my Islamic faith. And I remember at the time after I was shot, I remembered very clearly what my mother taught me, that if I'm ever hurt or angry, the first thing I should do is to control my tongue. And if I ever struggle to show mercy and forgiveness, leave it up to God and or to the justice system or to the authority, but never ever seek revenge. You move forward. I was able to forgive my attacker after I got my life back, but in course of time, I never felt it was enough. I thought, yeah, I forgave my attacker in order to rebuild my life, in order to move forward, in order to not to see myself as a victim. I went through a healing process for several years. And in that time, I grew mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. And in Mecca, I deeply realized that hate and revenge does not bring peace or lasting solution to any situation. It only brings more misery and disaster. And in Mecca, I deeply thought about my shooting incident and my attacker who was sitting on death row waiting to die. And I deeply felt by executing my attacker, Mark, we would simply lose a human life without dealing with the root cause. I began to see him as a human being, not just as a killer. I saw him as a victim as well. And I remembered that how I felt seeing myself on the brink of death and pleading to God for a second chance. How could I then deprive another human being of life?
You went through this transformation, but so did the man who shot you in prison, and you had a chance to talk with him. He was executed, but you did speak.
I wanted to meet him in person, and I wanted to connect with him as a human being, not just simply as my killer. And my request was turned down again and again by the prison system. And the day he was supposed to be executed, I was on the list of people that he wanted to talk. And me and our legal team, we were getting ready to go to the court to fight to save his life. And so when my turn came, I called him. I was told that he's busy, cannot talk. So it happened a couple of times. Then I realized that maybe I'll not get a chance to talk to him. So I called one of his friends outside, thinking, he might give me a better answer. And I was lucky that that friend was talking to Mark through a landline. And he said, if you want, I can put you on a three-way call and you can speak with him. I said, let's do that. So when Mark came on the phone, it was a very emotional and sensitive moment for me, because what could you tell to a human being who is about to be executed in a couple of hours? I mean, what kind of message you can give this person? A very emotional moment. So when Mark came on the phone, I said, Mark, you should know that I never hated you and I forgave you. And he said, Rais, I never expected this from you. I love you, bro.
I don't think it would be a surprise to you that a lot of people couldn't do what you did. What would you say to people who don't understand why you were able to come to this place?
Well, the pain and suffering I went through because of the shooting incident would not go away, would not be minimized, or would not be erased from my life by killing this man. There are a lot of hate, a lot of violence in this world, that is taking place on a regular basis. So his execution will not stop those hate, those violence. I wanted to turn this negative experience into something positive. I wanted to get something good out of this very painful experience. And I deeply realized that if my attacker Mark was given a chance to live, even behind bars, he might be able to reach out to people who were like him in the free world. And if he and I could help one person to get beyond their prejudice, their intolerance, hate, and violence, that's an achievement. But by killing another human being, it would be a simple, it would be, simply a human loss. There would be no benefit. And by giving him another chance, we would allow him to walk on the path of redemption and justice at the same time. And that's what my faith taught me as well, that in the Quran, there is a verse, chapter 5 and verse 32, where it says very clearly that taking a human life is like taking the life of entire mankind, and saving a human life is like saving the life of entire humankind. I saw him as a victim, and I felt that this world would benefit by keeping him alive behind bars. And it would also help me that I would be able to make peace with my pain. I would be able to get beyond the bitter experience that I went through in my life by seeing that we all came together to save a human life, and that was the right thing to do.
When you came to the United States, you had a certain idea about this country. I wonder how what happened to you informs your idea of what America represents.
Well, before I came to America, it was a country full of opportunity, a country where people go for higher education to be a better person. And I still believe the same thing, even after I went through all this pain and suffering. Still, America is the beacon of hope and prosperity to the rest of the world. The freedom and democracy we enjoy in our country is a dream to millions of people all over the world. And even though one person tried to kill me after 9/11, but after that incident, many Americans came forward to help to rebuild my life. There is nothing that America cannot fix and achieve once we work together. And I still believe that we are capable of coming together again on the 20th anniversary of 9/11, despite our differences, despite all the bitter experience in our past. That's what makes us a great nation, a great country, because change is possible in this country. And this is the country where an immigrant like me, who was shot in the face and hit rock bottom, but was able to climb using the tools that this country provides to fulfill his American dreams. So nothing is impossible. Still, America is the greatest nation on earth, and it has not changed anything yet.
How will you mark this anniversary?
Well, like each year, I begin this day with a morning prayer, praying for peace, justice, and mercy for all, especially those who departed this world on this tragic day, those who got sick, injured, all the loved ones who lost their loved ones here in the US, and the millions of innocent people lost their lives or became victim of war on terror as a result of these terrorist attacks. I pray for everyone. And I see September 11 not only as a tragic day in American history, but I also see it as a time of unity, solidarity, and coming together despite our differences. And I would do the same thing this year as well, hoping and praying that we all Americans will come together despite our differences.
Rais, thank you for being here and sharing your story. I really appreciate it.
Patricia, thank you so very much.
Rais Bhuiyan is a public speaker and the founder of the organization World Without Hate. Thanks for listening to Seattle Now. Jason Pagano and Jenny Cecil Moore produced today's show. Our production team is Caroline Chamberlain Gomez, Clare McGrane, and Diana Opong. Matt Jorgensen does our theme music. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you tomorrow.